have the latest on the potential WWE return of CM Punk, but first we have news on a scrapped AEW Championship match. At AEW Wrestle Dream, the Young Bucks would defeat the Lucha Brothers, the Guns, as well as Hook and Orange Cassidy to be crowned the #1 contenders for the AEW World Tag Team titles, then held by Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood of FTR. This of course set up the possibility of a fourth match between the two teams. With that said, before the bout could take place, FTR would then drop the belts to Ricky Starks and Big Bill on October 7, this on an episode of Collision. Taking to this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer would reveal that there's no plans for the Bucks to actually have a title match against the new champions, despite the #1 contendership win, and he would note, on the tag title front, the plan was definitely FTR versus Young Bucks 4, but it doesn't appear that will happen. FTR suggested the loss to Big Bill and Ricky Starks, and the idea at the time was it would lead to a rematch, and the winners would defend against the Young Bucks. The belief right now is that everything has changed. In fact, as best I can tell, the four-way win hasn't been talked about in weeks. It remains to be seen why the plans were scrapped, with the attentions of both FTR and the Bucks now seemingly set to go away from the tag team titles. And before we continue, let me just quickly plug my latest list video where we explore 10 facts WWE wants you to forget about Roman Reigns. So far, the YouTube algorithm has decided not to push it out as much as I'd hoped, potentially due to some of the controversial topics discussed, so be sure to go and give it a watch after this video to see what I mean. It's a good watch whether you love or hate the Tribal Chief. And next we had the latest on the AEW future of Ric Flair. This past Wednesday night on AEW Dynamite, 16-time world champion Ric Flair would make a surprise appearance as a gift from Tony Khan to the soon-to-be retired Sting, who recently announced that his last ever match will go down at Revolution next year. The debut would lead to questions on if the Nature Boy's cameo was a one-off or if AEW plan on keeping him around going forward, and we now seemingly have the answer coming from this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter. According to the report, the plan is for Flair to be a key member of the ongoing Sting retirement storyline, and it notes, Ric Flair debuted as Sting's surprise gift from Tony Khan on 10/25 Dynamite show. Flair had no contractual ties with WWE. He probably would have come in earlier as they were in talks when the Dark Side of the Ring episode hit and pretty much all talks ended, but Tony Khan wanted him to be part of the Sting storyline and he's supposed to be on the show as part of this through March. Meltzer would then conclude by stating that as part of the deal, AEW will likely help promote Flair's Woo energy drink, or at least that's being talked about backstage. For now, Sting is set to team up with Darby Allin and a yet-to-be-confirmed partner that's expected by many to be Adam Copeland at the Full Gear pay-per-view on November 18, with them set to take on Christian Cage, Nick Wayne, and Luchasaurus in 6-man tag action. And next, a former WWE superstar has returned to the ring. At SummerSlam this past August, former WWE Women's Champion Ronda Rousey would wrestle the last match on her contract, losing to longtime MMA training partner and friend Shayna Baszler. Since then, many have wondered if her days inside the wrestling ring were over after she seemingly announced her retirement on social media. However, she would make a surprise appearance this week at an independent show in Los Angeles. At the Lucha Vavoom Area 51 event on Thursday night, the baddest woman on the planet would team up with current AEW wrestler and MMA training partner Marina Shafir to take on her wrestling coach Brian Kendrick and AEW's Taya Valkyrie. In the end, Rousey and Shafir would walk away as the winners in just over 5 minutes, marking her first ever match in a non-WWE ring. After the event, Ronda would take to Instagram to speak of her experience and wrote, Lucha Vavoom was honestly the best lucha burlesque hybrid show I've ever had the pleasure of jumping into unannounced. Anyone who doubted me and Marina Shafir could make magic in a ring is an idiot. Thank you Taya Valkyrie and Brian Kendrick for being down to get down with us. On top of the Lucha Vavoom appearance, Ronda Rousey has since been announced for the upcoming Wrestling Revolver show in Los Angeles on November 16, with it likely that she'll be working a match on that event too. It appears that despite teases of retirement, Rowdy is set to have a stint on the independent circuit, although for now her appearances have been limited to LA. Whether that will change or not remains to be seen. And next, 2 more matches have been confirmed for WWE Crown Jewel. Next Saturday night, WWE will once again return to Saudi Arabia for another pay-per-view in the Kingdom, a show that will be headlined by an undisputed Universal title match that will see Roman Reigns defend against the megastar LA Knight. On last night's episode of SmackDown, 2 more matches would be confirmed for the event, the first of which involves yet another member of the Bloodline. On the episode, John Cena would speak of how he's not won a singles match since 2018, this before throwing out an open challenge to the SmackDown roster, a challenge that was accepted by Solo Sikoa. However, a brawl would kick off before the bell could ring, leading to an announcement that the bout will instead take place next weekend at Crown Jewel, which is Cena's last scheduled appearance of his current run. However, the actor's strike is still ongoing, meaning he could be sticking around beyond that date. The second match confirmed last night will see the WWE Women's Championship on the line when Io Sky defends her title against former champion Bianca Belair. This after the challenger declared her intentions to get revenge on Sky, Bayley, and Dakota Kai of Damage Control. At SummerSlam earlier this year, it was Belair that Io cashed her Money in the Bank briefcase on to win the belt in the first place, with this being the first time the two have met one-on-one since. Next up, another free agent has hit the market. Over the past several months, a number of wrestlers have found themselves on the free agency list, whether it be due to expiring contracts or straight-up releases. Well, it seems that we can add yet another name to that list, as according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, Impact Wrestling star Heath, the former Heath Slater in WWE, is no longer with a wrestling home following the expiration of his deal with the company. Sean would take to X to note, Heath is now a free agent, Fightful Select has learned. Heath was actually offered a contract to return to WWE in 2020, but passed it up to join Impact Wrestling. He finished with them this past weekend in Chicago. He's now accepting bookings. Heath would sign for Impact shortly after his WWE release in April 2020, with him apparently rejecting to re-sign with WWE in order to take on a new challenge in a new home. However, he would suffer from a serious injury that led to time being added onto his contract, a deal that has now officially come to an end. We now wait to see where Heath will end up next, although he will no doubt be seeking to continue his in-ring career, because let's not forget, he's got kids. And next, a current world champion has been injured. Last night, Impact Wrestling continued their ongoing UK tour when they headed to Newcastle upon Tyne and the Walker Dome, a show that was set to see current Impact World Champion Alex Shelley team with Motor City Machine Gun teammate and current X Division champion Chris Sabin to battle the team of Moose and Brian Myers. However, Myers and Moose would instead find themselves across the ring from Sabin and TNA original Frankie Kazarian, who stepped in for the absent world champ. According to PW Insider's Mike Johnson, Shelley is currently ruled out of action with a calf injury, and he would report, Impact Wrestling champion Alex Shelley suffered from what has been described to PWInsider.com by Impact sources as an extremely pulled muscle in his calf. Shelley was at tonight's pay-per-view taping in Newcastle, UK, but was not able to compete. We are told he was noticeably hurting. Impact sources stated the company will monitor Shelley, described as banged up, for the remainder of the tour. And next we have the latest on the potential WWE return of CM Punk. Ever since his AEW departure this summer, speculation has surrounded the future of former AEW World Champion CM Punk, with rumors of an appearance at WWE Survivor Series in his hometown of Chicago seemingly being squashed by a recent report from Fightful Select that revealed talks have yet to begin between the Second City Saint and the Stamford-based promotion. Punk would take part in his first interview since his AEW exit earlier this week, where he would be asked about the WWE Rumors. Appearing on 670 The Score, a question would come in via a text from a fan asking if he will be at Survivor Series next month, and he would respond,
Been asking on our text line, Phil, if you're going to be at WWE Survivor Series here next month.
They're asking if I'm going to be there. I think it's sold out. I think tickets are hard to get. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble. I'm kind of just sitting at home right now, enjoying this beautiful Chicago weather. And I have an injury in the family. My dog blew his little dog ACL. So I'm literally just spending my time with him. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but he is my son, and I take care of him and treat him as such. So everything's kind of stopped. I'm fortunate to be able to just take time off from everything. I've canceled a couple of things I have coming up. Traveling is just, it's hard trying to leave him here with my wife, April.
Whilst he didn't flat out deny his involvement in the show, it remains to be seen if talks have yet to begin between WWE and CM Punk, with all reports suggesting that this is not the case. It's worth remembering that Punk took a similar indirect approach to questions over his pending AEW debut back in the summer of 2021. However, the difference between now and then was that back then, his impending comeback had already been leaked. It should also be noted that dogs don't have ACLs, so make of that what you will. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 shocking Roman Reigns facts that WWE wants you to forget.